Message from Starfleet Command, top priority.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 142, featuring the top 5 Uhura episodes. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse, and I am the host of the TrekRanks podcast. And tonight we are celebrating. We are celebrating the life. We are celebrating the career and the talent and the impact of the incredible Nichelle Nichols, who we lost recently. Who, honestly, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say is the most legendary figure in Star Trek history. Something that I think she will always be for the things that she did both on the screen and off, and the impact and the story that you tell, the Star Trek story that's told around her framing. So it's just, she's at the core of it. So tonight we're doing our top 5 Uhura episodes to remember and celebrate her impact as a dancer, a singer, an actor, a civil rights advocate, her work with NASA recruiting women and people of color to the space program. I mean, she literally changed the world, and that's not an exaggeration. So her work with NASA is something that was that she identified as a problem and went to them to try and fix it in the 70s. It literally changed the world. So she's amazing. We love her. I'm sure we're going to get into all of that with our picks, and this is going to be an emotional episode. So without further ado, let me introduce my 3 great guests tonight for this supersized show. And we actually have 2 guests from the UNC 1701 in the Carolina sector. Well, first up, he was just with us for our Spock episode, but I wanted to get him back for this one. Chris Burris, Mr. ATOS, your 5th time on TrekRanks. Welcome back, buddy.
Thanks, Jim. It's good to be back. And this is going to be a very special episode because hopefully I'll be able to hold it together as we talk about Nichelle Nichols and Uhura's greatest moments. So
I love it.
Thanks for letting me take part in this today.
I think I'm going to need some Kleenex here. I don't have any at my desk. Okay. And our second guest, she was recently on our Scenes and Engineering show, but again, no way I wasn't going to have her on our Uhura episode. It's Dr. Beverly Falls, your 4th time on TrekRanks. Beverly, welcome back.
It's so good to be back. And of course, being original TOS, I just idolized Nichelle Nichols.
Of course. How could you not? And it feels like if it's TOS related, somehow our final guest always ends up on my short list. It's Ryan T. Riddle here in the San Diego sector. Your 4th time on, Ryan. Welcome back, buddy.
4th time. All right. We got 4-timers on this show. Yeah, it's great to be back. Nichelle's death hit me really hard. Her, Kirk, and Spock are my 3 favorite hands down characters in all of Star Trek, and just the importance of her life. And I'm happy to take part in celebrating her today.
I can't wait to hear the way you guys approach this one. Okay, let's get into our quick TrekRanks recalibration so we can get into this show.
Normal Starfleet channel has nothing on it but static. I'm getting something on another frequency, but it's not Starfleet.
Put it on audio.
Regular listeners will know by now, general order number 1 of the TrekRanks charters, that we love Trek and we love to rank Trek via some deep dive topics just to get the conversation started. But remember, it's not really about the ranks. It's just our excuse to have a conversation about Star Trek because, as Mr. Spock himself has said, our show is all about
infinite diversity in infinite combinations, symbolizing the elements that create truth and beauty.
No wrong answer. It's not about being right or definitive in any way. It's about sharing the things we love about Trek, and we love it all, from TOS to TNG, straight to the Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline and Discovery, Short Treks, Picard, Strange New World, Lower Decks, Prodigy. It's all fair game here on the TrekRanks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a reminder that this episode of TrekRanks is current through 853 episodes of Star Trek, which currently means the conclusion of the 1st season of Star Trek Strange New World. We're just about to start the 3rd season of Lower Decks. And one final reminder that we use episodes as a shorthand term, but the 13 films are always in play as well.
Have boosted power to the communications bandwidth.
And we appreciate that, Mr. Kim. You can find TrekRanks on Subspace at TrekRanks.com. You can contact me directly on Twitter at TrekRanks or at Enterprise Extra. And you can also call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. That's 609-512-5527. Okay, let's wrap it up. Chris, Beverly, and Ryan, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you on Subspace. Chris.
You can find me at Burris CJ on Twitter, and that's the best place where you can see me.
All right, and Beverly?
I'm on Twitter, Dr. BNC89.
And Mr. Riddle.
I am on the Twitters at Ryan T. Riddle.
All right, let's get into our level 1 diagnostic and break this down quickly before getting into our prime directive.
Run a level 1 diagnostic series. Come.
So this is our 16th time we've done a character breakdown on TrekRanks, and normally I rattle off our character roll call, but I'm not going to do that this week. I just want to jump into the celebration of Nichelle Nichols. So remember that we call this our top 5 episodes, but really it could be an episode or a specific moment. It could be big or small. It doesn't matter. So as we do for each character show, we're going to ask everyone for one word that we think best, that they think best describes the character of Nyota Uhura, or potentially in this case, Nichelle Nichols, however you want to do it. So that's what we're going to do now. So Chris, let's start with you. What is your word to describe Uhura, and why'd you pick it?
Well, the word that I chose is elegance. And even though Star Trek was created in the 1960s and the buttons on the bridge of the Enterprise weren't labeled or anything, the way Nichelle Nichols played Uhura as the communications officer, the way her hands glided across those panels, and whenever she would give Kirk the update that Starfleet was, the message was coming from Starfleet, or the landing party was relaying some information, or just being the means of communication. It was just done in such a way that she really set the tone for what a communications officer would look like. And she did it brilliantly. And Nichelle Nichols brought so much of her own character into Uhura that it's just hard to not see the elegance in that role. So that's why I chose the word.
That's incredible. So this is a TrekRanks first. Elegance is also my word. So I'm going to jump in here and talk about it too. And it makes sense. So for this first time I've ever had a duplicate on the word for our character shows. And I looked up elegance, and like you just said, Chris, she had such an impact in every scene she was in. The fact that scenes weren't about her did not matter. They never mattered. It never mattered in the show because she was always such a presence. It's really quite incredible. So there's 6 definitions for the word elegance, and each one of us is like, holy crap. Each one of these perfectly describes her. Tastefully fine or luxurious in style, gracefully refined and dignified, graceful in form or movement, like you said, appropriate to refined taste, excellent, fine, superior is 5th. And the 6th one is one that blew me away, and I knew I was going to pick this, was it's a scientific or technical or mathematical term, gracefully concise and simple and admirably succinct. And I'm thinking, wow, that just could not be any more perfect. So I picked elegance as well. I'm so cool that we both had that, and it stands up. And who knows, maybe it's a triplicate or a quadruplicate with Beverly and Ryan. But Beverly, what's your word?
My word is trailblazer. There's so many words I could have picked, including perfection. But when I think of Nichelle Nichols, I think of that opening scene, Space, the Final Frontier. And she was a trailblazer going into the final frontier.
That's perfect. That is amazing. I mean, we said it, we're going to say it all day. Just changed the world in terms of the role and the portrayal and what came out of it. I love that one. Okay, Ryan, how about you? What was your word?
I chose fierce. There's something in both Nichelle's eyes and in Lieutenant Uhura's eyes in every scene that communicates so much strength even when she doesn't have a lot of dialogue to convey her emotional state. There's just something in her eyes that just communicates this. I am to be reckoned with. Don't cross me. I'm good at my job. I know who I am. And I think that's something that you could even say with Nichelle and the trajectory of her own career. And then getting involved in NASA and being like, how can I help them make this a more diverse place? So I think she's just a force to be reckoned with, in my opinion.
That's incredible. I keep thinking about how all these are going to come out in my picks, and I'm sure your guys' picks as well, because each one of those words fits one of my picks. Okay, let's move into our prime directives and figure out how everyone narrowed down their lists.
But what you're proposing is exactly the kind of tampering the prime directive prohibits.
Okay, so let's run through this quick. Chris, what was your prime directive, and how did you kind of narrow it all down?
Well, since we were talking about Uhura, I wanted to give every incarnation of Uhura that we've seen a little bit of their moment in the sun, but I had to give Nichelle Nichols the lion's share because she was Uhura and Uhura was Nichelle Nichols in the beginning. So I just wanted to honor her that way.
Okay, that sounds similar to me. Beverly, how about you? How did you break it down?
My prime directive is a quote from the DS9 episode, Trials and Tribulations. I guess the difference between you and me is I remember this time, I lived in this time, and it's hard not to want to be part of it again. So my prime directive is not only honoring Nichelle, but talking about the things that were actually happening at that time.
Amazing. Oh my God, that's perfection. Can't wait to hear that. Ryan, how about you? How did you break it down?
My prime directive was basically that I wanted to find moments of both Nichelle and Uhura. So I split my list as much as I could between her real life and her, space life, so to speak.
Fantastic. I had a feeling there would be some of that. So that is great that you're approaching it that way. I guess I kind of looked at it that way too. Maybe not so much in my picks, but definitely in my thinking. So my prime directive, I had three things I was thinking of. The career and life of Nichelle Nichols, and then the character of Uhura, obviously, and then the legacy and the foundation of Uhura, which means, like, I think what, Chris, you might be going there a little bit, is that I'm 100% going to try to relay some of my picks into the new era of Trek and showcase kind of the foundation for that she laid for some of the performances that came after her. So definitely trying to break that out in my picks. And I'll say too, I also ended up focusing more on little specific moments. I have some broad picks too, but I also have some very specific, narrow, like this one moment I just love, and so I'm picking it. So we're going to get a little bit of everything in my picks, and I think we'll have some duplicates. We might even have some triplicates, but we also might have some similar picks that aren't quite duplicates. So we'll figure out how we count it all up as we go through it. And last thing I'll say is there's a reason that this show begins every week with Uhura as the first thing you hear on this show. So that's just how important of a character I think she is in Star Trek. All right, so let's do this. First Cadet Catan, introduce us to the new order of things.
It'll be alphas like us that determine the future of this quadrant. That will be the new order of things.
Thank you, First Cadet Catan. A quick reminder on how we're going to go through the order of things. First, everyone will start with their 5-word summary and a hashtag to tease their pick. Then we'll each reveal our top 5 Uhura episodes and the specific reasons we're highlighting it. And at the end, we'll ask everyone for a few secondary system selections for the picks that just missed our list. And as always, if we have any duplicate picks, make sure you listen for the Defiant Torpedoes. I can't believe we've already heard them once. Amazing. Okay, Chris, let's start with you. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 Uhura episodes or moments or whatever it might be?
Hailing frequencies are open.
Okay, so the 5 words for this pick are music is its own language, with the hashtag coming through in the clutch. And episode is Children of the Comet from Strange New Worlds. And I chose this one because in relation to the backstory for Uhura from the original series, we didn't get very much detail about who she was and how she ended up in Starfleet. But in this episode, in almost the first 5 minutes, you got so much backstory about who Uhura was before she came to Starfleet. And then by the end, she became the critical piece in figuring out the mystery of what the Enterprise was facing by looking at it musically instead of looking at it by just normal conventional means of language. And by that, she really showed her value to the Enterprise because she literally thought outside of the conventional means of communication to make contact. And that was one way that by a communications officer really expanded her role as who a communications officer could be.
Oh, such a good pick. I love this episode so much. It really gets better every time you watch this episode. It is classic Trek. Beverly, what's your take on Children of the Comet and this backstory we get on Uhura?
First, I'm so excited that Strange New Worlds is on TV. And I love that Nichelle created this character and the honor that everyone continues to hold for it when they portray their version of Nyota Uhura.
Yeah, for sure. And Celia Gooding is so good in this season. Ryan, any take on Children of the Comet?
Yeah, it's actually on my secondary systems. So once again, Chris and I are mind melded again. But I love this episode so much, but I'm also more jealous that I didn't get to write this episode the first time Uhura gets the spotlight. But, I love the Strange New Worlds take on Uhura and seeing her at such an early start and having to make decisions about where she wants to be. And it's a very relatable story for a lot of us because we didn't know in our 20s. So, yeah.
It's funny because you say that, and I don't think I really processed it until I think I knew it, but I didn't think about it until you said it. This is the first true Uhura story straight up in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Where it's about her. It's about her backstory. It's about her abilities. Yeah, it really, I mean, kind of knew that, but when you say it out loud, it's kind of hits you. Amazing. Which again, just shows you the impact of Nichelle Nichols in this character, that statement can be true, but in some ways, and I don't mean this the way it literally sounds, it in some ways it doesn't matter because she did so much with the character regardless, and it had the impact regardless. So great pick, Chris. Great start. Beverly, where are you going with your number 5 pick?
It's not 5 words, but happiness at least, sir. And this is from City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were faced with having all of their history obliterated by a change in the timeline and the prospect of having to take a chance by going through the Guardian of Forever to live in some unknown future. And it just touches me so much to know that her wish for everyone is wherever you find yourself, at least find happiness in it.
Captain, it seems impossible. Even if you're able to find the right date.
But then even finding McCoy would be a miracle.
There is no alternative.
Scotty. And you think you've waited long enough. Each of you will have to try it. Even if you fail, at least you'll be alive in some past world somewhere. Aye.
Seconds now, sir. Stand by.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Happiness at least, sir.
This is a powerful pick. I did think about this one, even though it's a real small moment at the front end. But she's like the first one too who's on the communicator when kind of realizing that everything's gone. It's a really impactful presence, and that moment's amazing. Ryan, Chris, anything you guys got on that?
Well, City's my favorite episode, so hands down. I think I've used it a couple of times on my appearances. But yeah, I always loved when Uhura got to go on the landing parties, and she got to contribute in not being stuck on the ship. And I think Beverly summed it up. That is Uhura's character, is that she wants everyone to find happiness at the very least.
Perfect pick. And it just also demonstrates how, in the face of all the darkness of their uncertain, well, what could you call it, future, Uhura still managed to shine a bit of light through that darkness and potential despair. And it was just a brilliant moment.
So good. Okay. Round 5 continues. Ryan, what's your number 5 pick?
Yeah, mine is slapping the scar off Sulu. Hashtag hell yeah, Uhura. And of course, mirror, mirror.
I love it.
Yeah, this goes back to her being fierce, right? She starts this episode and she's like, Captain, I'm afraid, when she has to go to the bridge by herself. But then when she's there, she handles it. And she handles Sulu quite well. And that's an episode that gives her a lot to shine.
Yeah, for sure. So much so that when you said fierce, I was like, that sounds like my number 5 pick. Which is Mirror, Mirror. And this is one of my full episode picks as opposed to a small moment. So my 5 words in hashtag is presence and performance reflect impact. Hashtag getting away from your post. And you just said it. My favorite part of this is this line. There's a ton of great lines in this episode, but the one that kind of gets forgotten is when she's messing with Sulu at the end to distract him. And he says, you take a lot of chances, and she is such a badass. So do you, mister. So do you. It's so good. She is the best, and I love that you're away from your post, mister. She's just giving out absolute do not F with me. And I think it's fantastic. Beverly, any thoughts on Mirror, Mirror?
Oh, I love how you described it.
I mean, or you guys there's a good chance this episode's going to come up again too. So, Chris, any thoughts?
Just the way that she was saying, so do you, mister, while holding a knife. Do not mess with Uhura.
Of course, this isn't the time.
Any time's a good time.
I'm afraid I changed my mind again.
You take a lot of chances, Lieutenant.
So do you, mister. So do you. Take over for me. Mr. Scott, all clear. On my way to sickbay.
It's up to the captain.
It's so good. Okay, that's it. Round 4. Let's go. Yeah, that was my round 5 pick. So round 4, Chris, what's your number 4 pick?
Okay, the 5 words are communications officer with guts, or rather a communications officer with guts. The hashtag is get the job done. And this is from Star Trek Into Darkness.
Oh, yes.
And for 2 reasons. The first is that Nichelle Nichols was disappointed by the gag of using the dictionaries to speak with the Klingons in Star Trek VI, because she felt that Uhura would be much more advanced in using her own skills as a linguist to make communication. Yeah. And it was a funny gag, but it did sell Uhura short a bit. So in Star Trek Into Darkness, Zoe Saldana was able to rectify that by talking to the Klingons directly in order to hopefully save her friends and the mission.
They're ordering us to land. Captain, they're going to want to know why we're here. And they're going to torture us, question us, and they're going to kill us.
So we come out shooting.
We're outnumbered, outgunned. There's no way we survive if we attack first. You brought me here because I speak Klingon. Then let me speak Klingon.
Also, when she beamed down onto that moving platform, I can't remember quite what it was, but she basically took Khan on with a phaser, and I just love that. Like she fired a phaser, and she could have killed him if she wanted to, but they had to save him to get his blood back to Kirk. So it was just a great moment to see Uhura using her brains, intelligence, as well as her brawn with the phaser.
First off, Chris, it was a 23rd century garbage truck. Okay,
thanks.
That's what that
Thank you.
was. Okay, I really considered this pick. I love it. Zoe Saldana is a badass in this scene. It rules. It does make up for the gag in Star Trek VI. Fantastic. Beverly, any take on Zoe Saldana in Star Trek Into Darkness?
As they say, new Trek. What I really love about Uhura's character is she is completely in control of everything. She owns her sexuality. She's the most brilliant person in the room. She can tell you no with no excuses. Like she kept blowing Kirk off. And then when he caught the fact that she was with Spock, he just couldn't believe it.
Right.
So great advancement and empowerment for Uhura.
Yeah, I'm fired up. Zoe's got a pick here. She didn't make my list, but I'm just going to talk about her in my secondary systems because I think she did so much with it. Ryan, any take on Into Darkness and Zoe Saldana?
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's fierce. She's fierce.
Oh, yeah.
Uhura in any timeline is just fierce. I mean, like Chris said it, that phaser scene where she just beams down and it just starts like, wailing. I mean, yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing.
That's great. And I'll add that in case it doesn't get picked, because I actually considered picking 2009 because the moment when I realized that, it's an alternate timeline, and the moment I realized that Uhura and Spock were together, I wanted to just stand up and cheer in the theater. I was so excited because of all those tones and layers that were the subtlety that was played throughout TOS with those characters. And I'll never forget, in the months after 2009 was released and people were like, oh, I can't believe they have Uhura and Spock together. I'm like, did you watch TOS? What are you talking about? What is wrong with you people? That was there on the page and on the screen for 3 years. Oh, my God. Anyway, I love that moment.
And the other thing about being fierce in the original one was when they were getting on the ships to go to Vulcan, and she got really angry that she had been assigned to the Farragut.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And she said, I am assigned to the Enterprise. And he said, yes, you are.
So good.
Nice.
Absolutely. Perfect. All right, Beverly, what's your number 4 pick?
Okay. Number 4 is, again, I don't know if I'm going to have 5 words.
Oh, who cares?
Because I'm just so excited about the episodes.
The guideline.
Yeah. But it's that loving versus Virginia kiss.
Nice.
From Plato's Stepchildren.
Yes.
That everybody always talks about. And I don't remember if I actually saw that in the 60s because I did live in a southern state and I know some of the stations did not air it. So I don't recall specifically if I saw it as it aired.
Interesting. Yeah, I was going to ask where you live because that would obviously be a factor.
Yeah.
But I certainly saw it in
reruns.
Yeah, in reruns, obviously.
In 1967, Loving versus Virginia allowed interracial marriage. And in 1969, this episode of the original series aired.
Amazing. Yeah, that is a brilliant 5 words and a hashtag. And a great history lesson. I love it. Chris, what's your take on this one?
Well, my hat's off to you, Beverly, because just to be in that time and being able to, even if you weren't able to watch it the first go around, just to be in that mode, because I'm a few years removed, and that was just a tremendous landmark as far as an episode goes, where so many people had the opportunity to see it. And again, Star Trek leading the way on issues of contemporary society. Just great pick.
No doubt. No doubt. Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, I love everything that Beverly said about it. And it's such a monumentous moment in the history of Star Trek, in the history of television. And the fact that Shatner blew all those takes so that they would have to get the kiss on air.
Right. Yeah. That's a great part of that story.
Yeah.
Okay. Incredible pick. Incredible moment. Thank you for that, Beverly. Ryan, how about you? What's your number 4?
Ebony Magazine, January 1967.
Yes.
Hashtag slaying the cover. And of course, her feature in A New Star in the TV Heavens is what it was called, the article on her. And some of my favorite pictures of Nichelle as Uhura come from that issue of Ebony. Like, it's just, wow, she's just right there, you know?
I mean, that cover. So it's January 67. That's the month I was born. I love it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. That cover is so iconic. Incredible. What a moment in history.
So iconic. Yes.
It's just powerful. She looks incredible. It's absolutely a beautiful thing that exists, and absolutely deserving of a kind of outside the box pick. I love it. Beverly, what's your take on that Ebony Magazine cover?
Might as well fire the torpedoes.
Oh, let's do it right now.
Because my number 2, 5 words, is most heavenly body in Trek.
Oh my God.
With Mirror Mirror. And you have to understand what was happening in these times. We're actually having launches, and here's this beautiful woman who ain't a maid.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then in Mirror Mirror, she comes on in this bikini, which was like also brand new and scandalous and feminism empowering. And she rocked that bikini. And, you know, even now, if I could, I can't, but if I could cosplay that would be what I would want to do.
What an impact. Incredible. And again, the perception of the era, the time, it's so easy to forget about what it meant. We all know it's important, but when you really transport back to that era, which Beverly, you were a part of, it's confounding to think how ahead of its time it really truly was. Chris, any take on it?
Well, 2 quick thoughts. Going back to what you were saying, Beverly, about Uhura's 2-piece uniform. The fact that I Dream of Jeannie was on the same time, and they raised such a furor about how Barbara Eaton couldn't show her belly button, and with Nichelle Nichols, there it was.
Yeah, that's right.
So many. And the second thing is that cover of Ebony, that is it's just legendary. And I wish I could find an original copy of that particular issue, because I would definitely frame that and put it on my wall, because that where she's emerging from the Jeffries tube and that text, it was just, how could you couldn't say it any better than that. Just couldn't do it.
I mean, hell, I'd be excited if it was just a picture of the Jeffries tube. At that era. Uhura in it. Oh my God. Incredible.
In the article, they said she was the first Negro astronaut. It's a triumph of modern day TV over modern day NASA.
Oh man. It said that in the article.
Yeah.
I mean, that says it all, because and maybe this will come up, but rewatching
I've got more.
Because I rewatched Woman in
about her recruiting.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll hold on to that. Okay, let's close out round 4 with my pick. How am I going to follow that? Oh, I love this pick. This is one of my favorite. There's a small moment, and I just actually you guys might have this one as well. It's not that. It's a single moment in an episode, not a small moment. It's a big moment. 5 words and a hashtag. You really can do everything. Hashtag no one better equipped to handle it. And it is Uhura does it all in Who Mourns for Adonai. This would have been on my list regardless, but the fact that Uhura became such a powerful and integral character in Strange New Worlds with all the different things she's doing and the different lessons she's learning and the tech that she's learning. You have this episode in the early part of the second season where they're relying on Uhura's technical acumen to solve their problem. And she comes up with the idea to rig a subspace bypass circuit. And she's down there and they show her working on it and fixing it. And when Spock is down there and basically saying, hey, he says speed is essential. And she's like, I haven't done this in years, but I got to do it just right or it's going to blow the whole system. And Spock's line says it all for what this character meant. I can think of no one better equipped to handle it this year. Please proceed. It's just an impactful, memorable, beautiful moment. And I love it. And I knew it was going to be on my list.
Progress report.
I'm connecting the bypass circuit now, sir. It should take another half hour.
Speed is essential, Lieutenant.
Mr. Spock, I haven't done anything like this in years. If it isn't done just right, I could blow the entire communication system. It's very delicate work, sir.
I can think of no one better equipped to handle it, Miss Uhura. Please proceed.
Yes, sir. Right away.
Chris, what's your take on this one?
Well, this one is on my secondary systems as well, but the moment is Uhura basically rewiring her own console to do this. And you wouldn't think that Uhura would have that skill, but there she is doing it. And it was just like, aha, it was like a brilliant moment because she was doing the actual work to make her console work. And it was great.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on what Chris was saying about her being able to multitask, because when you look back at the Enterprise series and they had to do repairs on the fly with whatever they could find. And that's how space exploration is. If you didn't bring it with you, you have to jury rig stuff. So
yeah, I love when Uhura gets to show her technical acumen. I love Spock's line, there's no one else I'd rather do this task. And then Strange New World showed us how she got that technical acumen. She had a great mentor in Hemmer.
I know.
He taught her everything she knows. So of course Spock's gonna say, yeah, I trust you because you learn from the best.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he was right there for it. Incredible. This backstory has just been powerful. Okay, let's go to the soup round. Chris, what's your number 3 pick?
And now, as I'm sure that somebody out there has said, it's time to pay for the soup.
Okay, spoiler alert. Now my remaining picks are of Nichelle Nichols as Uhura.
I love it. First 2 was Zoe and Celia Gooding. Fantastic.
So the 5 words are Mr. Adventure met his match. And the hashtag is glad she's on our side. And this is the moment from Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, when she basically puts Mr. Adventure nicely into the closet, but with a phaser pointed at him. And I picked this one because this was her first take charge role in the film series after what she had done in the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan. She was just basically on the bridge doing her duty, but here she stretched herself a little bit and she turned the tables on the young hot shots and by the way of youth and ambition giving way to age and experience. And she basically lets him do his thing. And then when she springs the trap, it was just great because she didn't back down. And I think she would have stunned him if necessary because, again, going back to Fierce, Uhura just wasn't taking any guff from this guy. So she would have done what she had to allow her friends to escape and steal the Enterprise.
So fierce. We would have had to cancel TrekRanks if no one picked Mr. Adventure. So I'm glad that Chris picked it because for sure this is one of her standout moments. Beverly, what's your take on the Search for Spock?
With everything that she was up against in Nichelle, in terms of finally getting a meaty episode, that was a good way to show that she was serious. That was good.
Once again, Chris and I were mind melding because this is also on my secondary systems again. So yeah, great minds mind meld. But yeah, it's her kick-ass moment, her fierce moment in the movie, and really the only thing that she gets to do because she disappears for the rest of the movie. Well, all the boys go off to save Spock.
It's funny because she does, but it's kind of like the rest of TOS because she's not there. But then, like when she shows up again, it's like she's got an important role. She is setting everything up on Vulcan. This is important, and it's funny how that is true, but it's also she supersedes it by just her presence and how she makes things important, whether she's saying hailing frequencies open or beaming down with the away team. And yeah, this moment is it's so fun. It's also highly irregular. It's just highly irregular. Beverly, what's your number 3 pick?
Okay, for number 3, I'm just going to go with the one with the whales because I love everything about the voyage home. And where is Alameda? The thing I love most about the voyage home, to me, it was the first time the whole series, the whole franchise was able to sort of poke fun at themselves. And it was so accessible to anyone, not just people that were sci-fi fans or Kirk, Bones, and Spock fans. Anyone could go watch that movie and have a great time. And it introduced a lot of people to Star Trek.
Yeah, that's the key to its success. I did think about this one as well because her and Chekhov's antics are just hilarious. Just too much. Ryan and Chris, any thoughts on the voyage home?
Yeah, it's a fun movie. I've stood in every shot location in San Francisco when I lived there. I stood on the very corner of, where is Alameda?
I love it.
And what's funny is that all those scenes in downtown San Francisco are all within, I think, a mile radius of each other. So it's like North Beach, Chinatown, and the Trans-American Building.
That's great. And I've said this before. Where I live, about maybe 6 blocks from me, is where Uhura and Chekhov were climbing the rocks when they showed that angle because they filmed that in San Diego. Mm-hmm. And it's about 6 blocks from where I'm sitting right now, where they said it's the Enterprise. Chris, any thoughts on the voyage home?
Well, this was on my secondary systems also, and I selected the scene where Uhura basically deciphers the whale song from the Protos transmissions because she was the bridge from Kirk's Kirk's request, can you figure out what this sounds like underwater? Uhura makes it happen and she gets the whale song, and then Spock is able to identify this as from the extinct humpback whale. So Uhura just coming through once again.
Yeah, at the front end, yeah. Okay, Ryan, how about you? What's your number 3 pick?
This one's just for you, Jim. Tell me about Vulcan's moon. Flirting with a Vulcan is not logical. From the opening sequence of The Man Trap.
Yeah, incredible. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is I'm sorry to cut you off, but I love that this is one of the first scenes of Star Trek where she's already sick of being the communications officer because the first thing she says, if I hear the word frequency one more time, which is so great. Anyway, sorry. Go, Ryan.
No, that I was going to mention that because it lent itself to this, these are just people doing their jobs most of the time. And sometimes they don't really like it. So, yeah. And I just love her chemistry with Nimoy and the playfulness in her eyes, trying to get under his green skin. And then once again, going back to Strange New Worlds, knowing that they have had this friendship
Yes.
that started 5 or 6 years before even Kirk got on board. So it's once again, that show is just adding all these wonderful layers to what we've already seen.
It fits so well. Beverly, what's your take on Uhura and Spock flirting in the man trap?
It's hard to imagine that was like the first scene that ever showed, because you always think of the Trinity, and I'm really happy they did that. Yeah.
Well, this was just the moment that really set the tone for how the rest of the series was going to be. And it just demonstrated the playfulness that Uhura had her. She was serious at her job, but she didn't take it too seriously. And just how she was able to try and get under Spock's green skin, just like Ryan said. It was just a great moment.
And it was so much to do early on. And there's a lot of, I'll talk about it. It's a couple of my picks. She's got a lot to do there. Some of those early episodes. A lot of singing. Oh, it is my pick. Okay. All right. I'm going to change gears with my number 3 pick. 5 words and a hashtag. We've been talking about this throughout the episode. From cadet to cornerstone, hashtag the foundation of a character. And my pick is Celia Gooding as Uhura. And my episode is All Those Who Wander, because I'm picking just this single moment, which I'll talk about in a second. But really my pick is about the whole season, which we've been talking about, because Celia Gooding as Uhura, she just crushes it in these episodes. And I love the way this whole season is basically built around Uhura going through a rotation of assignments as a cadet, with engineering, security, away teams to learn the ropes of serving in Starfleet. I mean, if you really look at Star Trek Strange New World, she's the fulcrum of the entire season. And it's just another one of those crazy aspects you just did not expect from this show. And I love it. And of course, all of that comes out of the foundation that's laid by Nichelle Nichols as such a groundbreaking character and such a popular character. So to see her in action all season long, from Children of the Comet, which Chris picked, to Memento Mori, and then All Those Who Wonder. And the reason I picked this is really just this one specific moment. It's the last shot of the episode. She's already kind of had her interactions with Hemmer and the payoffs there, and the setup of her final mission before leaving Starfleet. But the final shot of the episode is her just stepping onto the bridge. It's this beautiful angle, and she's looking silently at the communication station. Alexander Kearns' original Trek music is playing over it. It's just super emotional for me. It really hits me hard, because that's the moment that she's deciding that this is for her and she's going to be good at this and make this a career. And I love it. I can't really fathom that moment exists, and that we have that as part of Uhura's backstory now, that the moment that she decided to do that. And it's all because of what Nichelle Nichols laid before her. So, Beverly, any take on this one?
The heartbreak of Uhura losing Hemmer when she had lost her parents and her brother. Sometimes you watch Star Trek because they're touching on real life and helping us to take science fiction and apply it even now.
Yeah, that happens in this episode for sure.
Yeah.
Chris?
Well, I'm trying not to lose my composure here, but that scene was just real in so many. This Uhura's take from the beginning of that episode to the end was so real, because like some of us, we just don't know what we're going to be doing in the next phase of our life. And so we have to figure it out. But if we have good people around us, like Uhura had Hemmer to inspire, that helps to make things go a little bit more smoothly.
And what was Uhura's response?
I've just been
drifting. It's time for me to stop coasting.
And you feel that serving in Starfleet is coasting?
I don't know. Maybe. Who knows where I'll end up? But I'm not afraid to face it alone anymore.
Interesting. I never felt that your fear was being alone. I think your problem is the exact opposite.
Oh, really? Please, enlighten me.
Make friends easily when you allow it to happen.
You think I don't like making friends?
No. I think you love it. And deep down, that scares you. Because your real fear is putting down roots.
So now you're a ship's counselor.
I understand. It is better to leave than to be the one left behind. But that's wrong. You create bonds. It's a gift. Of course, the people you care about are going to cause you pain. It will hurt. But the love it yields will far outweigh the sorrow. Oh. Hand me the electron coupler.
It was one of those moments where so many fans could identify with what Uhura was going through because we've been there. I know I've been there at certain points in my life. So it was just a great scene and a great moment.
Incredible payoff for everything happening in that episode and the whole season to get that image of her standing there. Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, Celia Gooding is pure genius in the role of Uhura. The moment with Hemmer, Beverly and Chris nailed it. It's just so gut-wrenching. And then the fact that she mentions at the memorial that Hemmer reminds me of my father, ties it all into everything that Uhura has lost in her life.
Man. Yep. Okay. Great stuff. Chris, round 2. What's your number 2 pick?
Okay, get ready to fire the photons because and the 5 words are rising to the occasion decisively. And the hashtag is I changed my mind again. So this is Mirror Mirror.
Triplicate.
And I picked this one because several times during this episode, Uhura was the MVP. Not just distracting Sulu on the bridge, but she also stopped Lieutenant Moreau, the captain's woman, from basically sabotaging their escape plan and handing the skull to Kirk to knock out Mirror Spock. So it was like she just did all these things to get them out of the mirror universe. It was just great. And she also, like Beverly said earlier, she used her femininity against Sulu's desires by never ceding either her authority or herself. And she was in control the whole time. Even though she had that moment of being scared and uncertain at the beginning, she never once lost her composure. And I've said this during the live tweet of Mirror Mirror several times, but Kirk could have thanked her at some point. He's like, thank you, Lieutenant.
That's just so great. Ryan, Beverly, anything to add on Mirror Mirror?
I think I said it all.
One thing I like about what Chris said is with the Strange New Worlds Uhura, they also showed that she's able to rise to any occasion, because when they were trapped in the cargo bay and she had to beat Hemmer's hands,
right?
It was like, I'm not sure that I'm prepared to do this, but I'm gonna cheer myself on because I'm boss. I can do this. So.
Yeah, I love that scene so much. I picked it as one of my scenes in engineering, thinking it was an engineering.
Yeah.
It was a cargo bay. But it's just that good. Fantastic. Mirror Mirror, a triplicate. So Beverly, we already got your round 2 picked in, right?
Mirror Mirror. That's right.
Mirror. Okay, beautiful. So I think that's technically our first I'll have to double check that. I think it's our first quadruple pick in Trek Rank history. Ryan, what's your number 2 pick?
It's a more inclusive space race. Hashtag representation matters. And, all about Nichelle's Woman in Motion program with NASA, helping them recruit Guy Bluford, the first, Black American in space. Sally Ride, the first woman astronaut. And then later on, Dr. Mae Jameson, who grew up watching Uhura and inspired by her. And then later guest starred on Next Generation.
Yeah.
Incredible. Such a great movie. And the scene with Mae Jameson in that movie just kills me.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's such a great movie. Yeah. I was crying.
Yeah. I mean, weeping and learning so much. I was going to say before, the one thing that I don't think I ever realized in her activism around that program, that it was because she was at an event and looking around at like, well, where are the people of color? Where are the women? They're just not here. And so afterwards, she made the point to address it with them. And then it turned into just a world-changing thing that she did. Absolutely. So impressive. Chris, any take on Women in Motion, the documentary?
Well, this wasn't on my list, but it was just an astounding documentary. And I remember watching it and I was just so blown away by it. I just watched it again. It was just that good.
Mm-hmm.
Just that good. Yeah, I've seen it at least 3 times, I think. Beverly, any final thoughts on Woman in Motion, or should we save that for your first round pick?
We can do both.
Okay.
Because it is my first round pick. And in 1977, she got appointed to the board of directors for the National Space Institute, which is a civilian program. And she gave a speech at their annual meeting and told NASA, come down from your ivory tower of intellectual pursuit because the next Einstein might have a black face and she's female.
Amazing.
And there were NASA people in the audience, and she had already formed her Woman in Motion Incorporated company in 1975. And that's when they approached her. So she didn't just become a volunteer ambassador.
Yeah.
This was a business situation where I'm going to go out and recruit, and we'll talk a little bit about her results for the number one.
I love it. So good. Okay. That is so good. What year was that?
In 77 was when she gave the speech.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right.
Incredible. Yeah. Okay. I'm up next. Too many people on the show. Round 2. All right. This one is a tiny moment, and it hasn't come up yet this episode. Awesome. It still could in round 1 for people. 5 words and a hashtag. Always on top of it. Hashtag nothing gets past Uhura. And this is a tiny moment from a massive episode. The episode is The Trouble with Tribbles. And I mean, Uhura's all over this episode. She's brilliant as really the person who brings the Tribble on board the Enterprise. But the moment I picked, and I've tweeted about this before, and it's kind of hard to see, so I don't think people have connected with it, but it's the moment when Kirk walks onto the bridge and there's Tribbles everywhere. And he's walking around, and there's one in his seat, and they're on top of the navigation console, and he's picking them up, and he's getting more and more annoyed. And the whole time you can see Uhura in the back, sitting at communication, and she's holding her Tribble, and she's got the biggest smile on her face, and she's super happy, but she's slowly picking up on the vibe in the room with Kirk. And she sees him walking around, and he picks one up, and he says something to Spock, and he kind of snaps, and she knows he's coming for her next. And she turns away at the last second, like she's just sitting there doing her job. And Kirk's like, what is going on? Let's get these Tribbles off the ship. And I just love this. This is the acting that you get from Nichelle Nichols, where it's so subtle, it's so smart. It's in the background, and whether she has lines or not, she's impacting these scenes. And I just wanted to pick this because I love this acting. And if you watch the scene, just keep an eye on her the whole time, because she is just rapturous. She's so happy at the beginning, like holding her Tribble, purring, and then slowly picking up on everything before at the last second, avoiding Kirk's wrath, even though she was going to get it anyways. So, Chris, what's your take on this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes. And those are just moments that the actor brings to the scene that you just can't script.
Right.
And for Uhura just to use a glance or a look, and to, in this case, look away from Kirk and just continue to go about her business. It's just a brilliant exchange of those unspoken moments that relay so much about her character in the space of Kirk and his potential wrath regarding the Tribbles.
I mean, the whole scene takes, 20 seconds, but the moment where she goes from happy to protective and like, oops, I'm going to get in trouble is like a split second. It's so good. Timing's perfect. Beverly, any take on this one?
I don't know if you can hear it.
Oh, you got Tribble in the back? I cannot. I'll drop in some Tribble purring. Yeah, that'll be good. It's classic.
Very nice.
Ryan, how about you?
I do love Uhura in Trouble with Tribbles. And there's a joke in one of the, I don't know if it's the 80s or the 90s Star Trek comic where Sulu is shopping with Uhura, and Sulu jokes that ever since you bought a Tribule, the captain has made it our priority to go with you whenever you go shopping.
That's a good joke. I like that. That's excellent. Yeah, and like you said, Chris, this is a good microcosm of all the different things she did in the background of scenes when she maybe had one or two lines, but was impacting regardless. So I love it. Okay, round one.
Begin round one.
Here we go. Chris, what you got?
Okay, the 5 words are a new sheriff in town. The hashtag is about time. And the episode is the Lorelei signal.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I could just stop with saying Uhura takes command. But in addition to all of that, she accepted the necessity, responsibility, and the burden of command with the gravity it deserved. And again, this was from the animated series in 1972. And it's really conveying a sense of pathos as far as Uhura stepping in to basically save the ship, and as well as the male members of the landing party who were beamed down to the planet. And this was also she was also the first commissioned female officer to command the ship since number 1. So that was a big standout moment for Uhura too.
You said it best with your hashtag about time. And yeah, this is the animated series, 1972, a Saturday morning cartoon. These subversive animated series writers just permeating America's living rooms with their incredible messages. Unbelievable. I love it. A huge moment. Beverly, any take on the Lorelei signal and Uhura in command?
Well, I didn't grow up watching the animated series because cartoons were sort of too young for me when I was that age. Yeah. And so I had to go back and watch the animated series just within the past few years. So it's always great to go back and see where they continue to world build, like with the Lorelei signal and what was it, Yesterdays with Spock?
Yesteryear.
Yesteryear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this is one of the best examples of that world building in the character of Uhura. Ryan, any take on the Lorelei signal? Or is this your number one?
This is my number one pick, too.
Okay, let's do it. How did I know? You guys have been so in sync, I think.
Yeah.
Go to Ryan's.
Exactly.
Let's do it right now. So, Ryan, what's your take on the Lorelei signal? Give us your 5 words.
Yeah. Uhura takes the captain's chair. Hashtag a woman's place is on the bridge. And it's just, once again, this is a fierce moment for her character. The animated series did something that I always wanted the TV show to do. I wanted Uhura to step up and take charge. And she wasn't given that opportunity in the show, but here it's completely centered around her. And I like that she has Chapel as her sort of Spock almost.
Yeah.
So I really liked that dynamic.
And we get to see her meet Chapel in Strange New Worlds. It's just amazing.
Exactly. Once again, layers.
Because that episode, that's the premiere episode where Chapel's running around after that guy on the ship, and that's where they meet. Because Uhura talks him down in the turbo lift. Brilliant. Okay, I had a feeling that was going to be your pick. It just popped into my head as I was asking about it. So fantastic. All right, let's go back to Beverly. And I guess we know you're number one, but let's hear a little bit more of your 5 words and a hashtag.
Okay. Well, for my 5 words, I'm taking a quote from Metamorphosis, but I'm talking about women in motion. And the quote is, "It's a big galaxy, Mr. Scott." Because what she did with her recruitment and just being herself and opening doors for everyone behind her is so tremendous. Jim, I mentioned to you that when I met her and I got my autographed copy of her biography, Beyond Uhura, that her personalization in it to me is Galactic Blessings Doc. And I treasure that.
Wow, that's so cool.
Her biography came out in 1994. Yeah. When she started her recruitment, NASA only had 1,600 applications. Fewer than 100 were women, and only 35 were minorities. Jeez. She set out talking to colleges, schools, TV programs, anywhere about STEM and about science and NASA and progress. After 4 months, NASA got 8,400 applications. 1,649 were from women, which is 15 times as many as they had gotten, and 1,000 were from minorities.
Unbelievable. Wow. I mean, the staggering number is that first number, that less than about 30 people of color. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. So,
because originally the astronauts were all test pilots.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was just a culture. And I mean, I don't want to say it changed overnight, but man, she really accelerated that change with this program. And that's why it's not an exaggeration to say it changed the world and changed the way that whole program looks. Incredible. I love it. All right. Any final thoughts on Woman in Motion, Chris or Ryan?
Once again, she had such an enormous impact on NASA, and that she made her fictional world of Star Trek real in ours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Martin Luther King told her, you got to stay on that show. That's the only one I let my kids watch.
Right.
Yeah. It just can't be understated about how she made that change to NASA so that, to borrow from George Takei, the Starship Enterprise really became Starship Earth. And that little contribution made the space program so much more of Starship Earth than we had ever seen.
Yeah, it really did. And to her credit, again, another line from that movie, another part of that movie, I love when she talks about, at the beginning, she's like, well, if we can't, it can't be a joke, right? It can't be like something that people can't connect to it because they think it's a joke if a TV character is up there portraying it. I can't remember exactly how they framed it, but I thought that was really savvy on her part to make sure it was done in the right way with the messaging. Okay. All right, let's close it out. My number one pick, not a duplicate, and a little bit of cheat because I got 2 episodes in here in 2 moments, but they're very similar, and so I just love them. And again, I tweet about these a lot, so if you follow me on Twitter, you probably know you'll know what these are. 5 words and a hashtag. Navigating her way to prominence. Hashtag Uhura is Shura. I can't believe I did that as a hashtag. It's terrible. It's the 2 episodes. Well, it's Uhura taking the navigation console in 2 episodes, both in the first half of season 1, Balance of Terror and Court Martial. And I've been tweeting about these for years. I love these 2 moments. So in Balance of Terror, the visual of Uhura sitting there at navigation in the money hero shot after the Romulans are destroyed and the Enterprise is saved. It's just, you can't overstate how incredible that is that they put her in that position in 1966, right in the front of this image, and not to understate it, into the seat that was previously occupied by the racist helmsman who they needed to get off the bridge. So it's just amazing. It's an incredible statement that they did that so early in the show, and I think it made a huge impact. And then just a few episodes later, she does it again at the end of Court Martial.
1/3 power.
1/3 power.
Variance fading.
The ship is dying and stuck in a decaying orbit, and at the crucial moment, Spock is sitting there. He steps up to get out of the way so Uhura can sit down, help stabilize the orbit and get the ship clear. And it's a real tense moment, and the whole focus is on Uhura piloting the ship and just making sure that now that it has power back to get it out of the decaying orbit and into a stable orbit.
All secure, sir.
I love these two moments. I think they say a lot for what they represented for her and her character. And yeah, it's just really impactful. So Chris, what's your take on these two?
Just the fact that Uhura sits in that seat and no one bats an eye. It just shows, for one thing, the level of cross-training that exists on the bridge where different officers can assume any station if necessary. But also, Uhura is literally steering the ship in a way. And it's like, okay, she's supposed to be there. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, and in Court Martial, Spock literally gets out of the way. He's sitting there. He's like, nope, you do this. Beverly, any take?
I agree with Chris. The fact that she was there, she was more than qualified. She was able to take control when needed. She was fourth in line during the whole first, the original series. Just open doors.
Love it. Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, I loved her front and center on the bridge like that. And, once again, Strange New Worlds. Sorry, my dog is bothering me at the same time.
Don't worry.
I love that Strange New Worlds ad that, she trained in all these departments. Of course she knows how to fly the ship.
Right. It shows all those things. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Let's see what you can do with the secondary systems.
Okay, let's get into some quick secondary systems for anything that just missed our list. Chris, anything you want to rattle off quick?
Just a couple of things. Charlie X, when Uhura's talents as well as Nichelle Nichols' talents are showcased as a singer.
Charlie's our new darling.
Our darling.
So that was my toughest cut too. Charlie X, I really wanted to include that. Sorry. Sorry, everybody, for seeing it.
So some of the others have already been said, but one I definitely wanted to add was this little promotion that the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum had. Star Trek: The Motion Picture was released in 1979, and there's a young Black girl who is at the Air and Space Museum, and Nichelle Nichols beams down as Uhura and gives her a few moments of inspiration to go into the field of aerospace. And she also sings while in her uniform as Uhura from the motion picture. And it was just maybe 5 minutes or so, but it was just a really beautiful moment.
That video is unbelievable. And it kind of shows you, she's in her full motion picture uniform with props and everything a year before the movie comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool behind the scene or educational video. I love it. Beverly, any secondary systems?
Well, I have a few secondary systems. I want to just gush over Nichelle Nichols.
Yes.
She was the first African-American to have her handprints and her signature at Grauman's Mann's Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
Wow, did not know that.
The next year, she got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And for those that want to visit, it's at 6635 Hollywood Boulevard. She was already performing at 15 when Duke Ellington heard her and had her start touring with him. Just so many firsts. She's just so amazing. And then again, because I lived in that time, the things that kept coming to me were in 1968, Aretha Franklin's Respect was like the top song. And then in 69 and 70, the Broadway show Hair had been performed in 67 and was so scandalous for nudity.
Oh, right.
And then this group, The Fifth Dimension, took one of the hit songs from that, and it became a number one smash as Aquarius Let the Sunshine In. And the interesting thing, again, this is a group of Black singers, but people didn't know they were Black until the album cover came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just showed how we were making progress during those years, but everything had to work together to make that progress.
I had no idea. And that's amazing because obviously she's sitting there on the bridge, you know?
Right. And then just for fun, if you ever want to have some laughs and some entertainment, go watch the Comedy Central episode of Drunk History that says Nichelle Nichols lives boldly. It is hilarious.
Oh, man. Okay, I have no idea. I've never
That was
seen
awesome.
Classic. Okay, Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, I other than the mind meld with Chris, I had The Moon's a Window to The Moon's a Window to Heaven. Hashtag Hello Boys from Star Trek V, the final.
Yes.
Even though she didn't sing the song in the movie, which was a shame. You know,
an unnecessary shame, right?
Yeah. And then, like you already have Nichelle Nichols. Why would you hire someone else to do the song?
Staggering.
Doesn't make sense.
Like what? That makes no sense. Makes no sense.
That's like a studio note, you know?
Exactly.
And then my last one is more wistful thinking. But where's my Captain Uhura show? Hashtag, yep, she made Captain.
Yes.
You know, Picard stated as a fact that she became captain. Picard was a cadet on her ship. So it's just like, where's that show? Where's that show?
Yep. Well, I'll say this. I'm glad. My special shout out was going to be that we finally got to see her. Her actual return was in Prodigy, the episode Kobayashi, where we actually got to see her again, which was amazing because it had been, basically since the films. The Kelvin timeline and the TOS films. But who knows? Maybe it could still happen in the animated world, Ryan, where we see a Captain Uhura somewhere.
And
could happen.
Just like Ryan was saying, in the books, she was the captain of the ship where all the cadets got to go faster than light for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the movie, she was always shown as an instructor at the academy.
And Picard, they referenced the ship, right? Was it the U.S.? Was it the ship named Uhura, or was it? There was some kind of tie-in with the books. I can't remember. Okay, so I just have a couple more that weren't mentioned because most of mine are mentioned. We talked about Naked Time, but we didn't do the Fair Maiden line when she says "sorry, neither." So another incredible moment, to say the least. The only other ones here I had, I love her. I love the Savage Curtain. I'm one of the people who like that. I love her moments with Lincoln and the learning not to fear words and that element. I also thought about the Gamesters of Triskelion because she is a badass in this episode. Really, really. That's fierce. That's some fierce stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to highlight Spock's brain. Uhura is the one that suggests the whole premise of that is they set up like they only have so many hours to go save Spock. And there's 3 possibilities of where they could go, and they're trying to kind of sleuth it. And it's Uhura's idea to go to Sigma Draconis 6 as the place to search for Spock because of some readings she's detected. And everyone's like, no, it doesn't make any sense. But Kirk basically susses it out and says, I think that's where he is. So little shout out to her from Spock's brain. All right. Yeah, we could go on forever. There's a million ways to talk about it and address her powerful, emotional, fantastic stuff, and really appreciate it. So let's go through our quick regeneration cycle and recap our picks now.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
All right, Chris, break down your picks.
Okay, so number 5 was Children of the Comet from Strange New Worlds. Number 4 was Star Trek Into Darkness. Number 3 was Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Number 2 was Mirror Mirror from the original series. And number 1 was The Lorelei Signal from the animated series, which was in 1972. I just had to correct myself from saying 1973 earlier.
Oh, I thought you said 72. Oh, maybe I misheard it. Okay. You spread it around. You had 1 TOS episode, 1 film, the animated series, a Kelvin timeline, another film, and Strange New World. So you had all 3 Uhuras on your list, which is fantastic. Beverly, break down yours.
Okay. City on the Edge of Forever because she wants everyone to be happy. And Plato's Stepchildren, just for the historic connotation. I heard one fan had written in from the South and said, I know there shouldn't be mixing of the races, but if Kirk is a red-blooded boy, he would definitely take care of that,
That's right. I forgot about that story.
Yeah. And then 3 is my favorite of the old movies, The Voyage Home. And for 2, Mirror Mirror, which everybody cannot get out of their mind because she broke the TV. And and then for number 1, Women in Motion and her impact on everything going forward.
Love it. Okay, so you had, it looks like 3 TOS episodes of film and then the outside the box pick of Women in Motion. Ryan, break down your 5.
Yeah. Mirror Mirror, the Sulu slap, Ebony magazine from January 1967, featuring that lovely photo of Uhura in the Jefferies tube. The next one was number 3 was Tell Me About Vulcan's Moon, flirting with Spock in the Man Trap. The next one is her work with NASA and Women in Motion, because, representation matters, and she made it happen. And then finally, Uhura taking command at the Lorelei Signal, which I probably butchered the name of that episode.
Lorelei? Yeah, Lorelei. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you had, again, you had 2 from TOS, 1 from the animated series, and then 2 outside the box picks with Ebony magazine and Woman in Motion documentary. My 5 were round 5, Mirror Mirror. Number 4, Who Mourns for Adonai. Number 3 from Strange New Worlds, All Those Who Wander, in that final shot of the episode. Number 2, The Trouble with Tribbles, TOS. And number 1, a combination of Balance of Terror and Court Martial from TOS. So I was pretty much all TOS except for 1 Strange New Worlds pick. Okay, so we'll break down some stats. I tried to count up a few things. There was 1 quadruple pick. So that's a first, I think, in TrekRanks history. There was 2 other duplicates. We had 3 non-Trek outside the box picks with Woman in Motion and the Ebony magazine. And then, I stopped counting that one. I was going to count how many times. Yeah, just 3 times. There was only 3 picks out of 20 that were when it was an episode or that Uhura was not out on a landing party. So only 3 where she was just on the bridge only. So I don't know why I kept that, but whatever, I did. And let's break it down. There's 6 incarnations she could have appeared in. TOS, the animated series, the TOS films, Kelvin Timeline, Strange New Worlds, and Prodigy. And we got them all except Prodigy. So there's 1 Kelvin Timeline film. There was 2 animated series picks, 2 TOS films, and 2 Strange New Worlds picks. And then TOS, of course, led the way with 10 picks. So those are our stats. Fantastic stuff. But as always, we've been hit by a temporal distortion. So before we can depart, it's time to hear from you.
The temporal distortions are fracturing space-time throughout the ship.
Cause?
Unknown.
Oh, we know the cause, Mr. Tuvok. It's all that amazing feedback we continue to receive from our listeners here at TrekRanks. And this week's temporal distortion has sent us back to recap quickly 2 great lists that we got from 2 great shows that we've done recently. First up, we're going to episode 131 again. It's our one-off guest stars episode, which really we got a ton of feedback on. And this list was from Jeff Owen, who is at NCC_17 Formula One. And his prime directive was actors famous for other big sci-fi roles who only appeared once in Star Trek. So I love this. So his first one was Christopher Heyerdahl as Wen in Discovery Season 3, People of Earth. He was a Wraith I see. He's got his 5 words and hashtag is Wraith, Althosian, or the Swede, hashtag Atlantis or Hell. I'm not sure what some of those shows are, but I know he was a Wraith in Stargate Atlantis. Okay. His fourth pick was Ron Glass, who was Loken in Nightingale in Voyager, and his 5 words and hashtag Doctor, Scientist, or Shepherd Book, hashtag Not a Grandpa. That's a Firefly line. I know that one. Number 3 is Mark Shepard, a sci-fi legend who played Icheb's dad in Child's Play on Voyager. 5 words and a hashtag. He's been in practically everything, hashtag Supernatural, Doctor Who, Leverage, Firefly, Galactica, etc. That guy's a legend. Number 2, this is a good one. Billy Mummy, who was in Deep Space Nine, The Siege of AR-558. Crewman Will Robinson or Lanier, hashtag Lost in Babylon 5. So a great one. And his number 1, of course, Dean Stockwell as Grat from one episode of Enterprise Detained. And his 5 words and a hashtag A1, number 1, Brother Cavill, hashtag Quantum Battlestar. So fantastic list there. And then I'm going to read off one more. This is from our Trek Crushes episode 133 from Ben Nicholson, who is at Ben Kerr now. He had his Trek Crush list was an all Harry Kim list. So yes, get ready, people. It is some Harry Kim love here for Trek Crushes. And 5 words and a hashtag. We had Lindsay Ballard, Ashes to Ashes, attacking each day and possessing it, hashtag Own the Day. His second pick was Megan Delaney from 30 Days, demonic twin mistress of evil, hashtag Wrong Twin. His third pick was Mariana, the alien presence in Alter Ego. 5 words and a hashtag jealousy with intellectually interesting Hydro Sailor, hashtag there is love in that nebula. I love that. He had Darren Tall from The Disease. 5 words and a hashtag I want to break free, hashtag forbidden love. Oh, and of course his number 1, of course, is 7 of 9, the one who is many, hashtag futile. So a list of Harry Kim's 5 crushes. That's pretty damn good. That is pretty hilarious. Okay, so those picks, definitely good enough to clear ourselves from this week's temporal distortion. So as always, I want to thank everyone for all your great responses to the TrekRanks podcast. So please keep your list coming to me at TrekRanks on Twitter so we can retweet them, but we also want to hear from you. So put together your own list of top 5 Uhura episodes or a list from any of our past shows. Give us a call at the Tricorder Transmission, 609-512-5527. That's 609-512-LLAP, or you can just record it. Send me a link and we can do it that way. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of TrekRanks. And on the next episode of TrekRanks, we are doing our final episode in our Guilty Pleasure series for Trek's 5 Legacy series. We've done TOS, TNG, Voyager, and Enterprise. And on episode 143 of TrekRanks, we're doing the top 5 DS9 Guilty Pleasure episodes. So Chris and Beverly and Ryan, I'm going to ask you guys if you had to choose one DS9 Guilty Pleasure episode, what would it be off the top of your head? Chris?
It would have to be Little Green Men.
Oh man, that's a good one. I mean, that's a classic. That's a classic.
Yes, that Ferengi were involved in Roswell. Wink, wink.
I mean, it's canon, people. It's canon that Area 51 was created by the Ferengi. Beverly, how about you?
Trials and tribulations, no doubt.
Oh man, yes. Well, that one's no question. And Ryan, what's your DS9 guilty pleasure?
Move Along Home.
Yes.
Alan Moraine.
You're a brave man, Ryan. So brave.
You can't have a more guilty pleasure than that. I love it. That'll get some consideration from me. I got to think about that list. Okay. So before we wrap it up, I want to thank Chris Burris, Dr. Beverly Falls, and Ryan T. Riddle for being with us on the show.
I was wondering if you could show me how to access these subspace communications logs.
And we're going to do that right now, Neelix. I want to ask you guys if you have any final Trek subspace communications you want to relay or any final thoughts on Nichelle Nichols and Uhura. Chris, thanks for coming on, man.
Well, it was good to be here, and this was a great conversation about a legendary figure in Star Trek. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Beverly, any final thoughts?
Just want to say again, Nichelle Nichols will live forever, and her name means Star Freedom.
And I know how important she is to you, so that's really cool. And Ryan, how about you? Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, no, always glad to be here. Glad to be with Chris and Dr. Beverly. Yeah, just Nichelle is, I keep saying it, fierce. She's a powerhouse. There's nothing. It's just fierce.
It's so good, so good. Elegance, trailblazer, fierce. Can't sum it up any better than that. All right, thanks everyone for engaging with us here on episode 142 of the TrekRanks podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
Oh, it's adorable. What is it?
What is it? Why, lovely lady, it's a tribble.
A tribble?
Only the sweetest creature known to man. Excepting, of course, your lovely self.
Oh, it's purring. Listen, it's purring.
It's only saying that it likes you.
Just want to remind everyone again that the entire TrekRanks catalog is available for you to download and listen to at TrekRanks.com and on your podcast player of choice. Our episodes never get carbon dated, so check out the topics you've missed and maybe just want to listen to again over at TrekRanks.com. And a reminder to check out our friends 5-Year Mission at 5yearmission.net. They're writing a song for every episode of Star Trek, and you won't believe how great their music is. They also have a podcast at the Trek Geeks Network, so seek them out. You won't regret it.
Roger, Old City Station at 2200 hours. All is well.
Understood. All stations clear.
You amaze me, Commander.
Oh, how is that?
A 20-year space veteran, yet you choose the worst duty station in town. I mean, look at this place. This is the hind end of space.
Peace and quiet appeals to me, Lieutenant.
Yeah, well, maybe that's okay for someone like you, whose career is winding down. But me, I need some challenge in my life, some adventure, maybe even just a surprise or two.
Well, you know what they say, Lieutenant. Be careful what you wish for. You may get it.
Good evening, Commander. Is everything ready?
Step into my parlor, gentlemen.
That's Admiral Kirk, my God.
Very good for you, Lieutenant.
But it's damn irregular. No destination orders, no encoded IDs.
All true.
Well, what are we gonna do about it?
I'm not gonna do anything about it. You're gonna sit in the closet.
The closet? What, have you lost all your sense of reality?
This isn't reality. This is fantasy. You wanted adventure? How's this? The old adrenaline going, huh? Good boy. Now get in the closet.
Okay.
Go on. Go on.
I'll just get in the closet. Okay.
I'm glad you're on our side. Can you handle that,
Oh, I'll have Mr. Adventure eating out of my hands, sir. And I'll see all of you at the rendezvous. Oh, and Admiral, all my hopes.